Evening, everyone. From now, what we are going to do in this channel is we're going to focus on NCRTs. Okay, why NCRTs? भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ अब NCRT is the foundation for your civil service preparations. Okay, but sometimes NCRTमा चाहिँ के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि अब कतिवटा वर्डिङ्सहरू चाहिँ यस्तो प्रकारले लेखेको हुन्छ विच बिकम्स भेरी पढ्दाखेरि चाहिँ अब नबुझ्ने पाराले लेखेको हुन्छ क्या कतिवटा कुराहरू. सो टु इराडिकेट द्याट अब चाहिँ हामी चाहिँ के गर्नु आँटेको छ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ अब दिस एनसिआरटिज चाहिँ विल गो थ्रु लाइन बाई लाइन. ओके, एन्ड स्टार्टिङ फ्रम दिस क्लास 9को इकोनोमिक्स एनसिआरटी, राइट? सो द फर्स्ट च्याप्टर इन दिस एनसिआरटी चाहिँ के हो भन्दाखेरि दिस इज अ स्टोरी अफ अ भिलेज इन कहाँ भन्दा पालमपुर. ओके, नाउ बेसिकली यो च्याप्टरमा चाहिँ के बुझाउनु खोजेको छ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ प्रोडक्सन के हो. Okay, production, the concept of production and what all is involved in production. अब केही कुरा बनाए नि होइन, अब त्यो बनाउनुमा चाहिँ अरू केको हात छ भन्ने खालके कुरा चाहिँ यो कन्सेप्ट चाहिँ यहाँनिर इन्ट्रोड्युस गराएको छ है. So if you just read, the purpose of the story is to introduce some basic concepts relating to production, right? And this we'll do through a story, hypothetical village called Palampur भन्दैछ. अब यहाँनिर के भन्दैछ भन्दाखेरि farming is the main activity in Palampur, whereas several other activities such as small scale manufacturing, dairy transport, etc. are carried out on a limited scale. These production activities need various types of resources, natural resources, man-made items, human effort, money, etc. As we read through the story of Palampur, we will learn how various resources combine to produce the desired goods and services in the village. So basically, like any other village, it is more agriculturally oriented. भनेको चाहिँ अब खेतीहरू बेसी हुन्छ त्यो अब कुनै पनि गाउँ बस्तीहरूतिर होइन. तर एग्रिकल्चर मात्रै पनि होइन, there are other things that also goes on apart from agriculture. जस्तै डेरी भयो है, म्यानुफ्याक्चरिङ भयो, ट्रान्सपोर्टेसन्सहरू भयो. All of this is being carried out, okay, and at whatever scale it can be carried out. अन्त यो सब चाहिँ कसरी पोसिबल भयो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ बिकज अफ अ कम्बिनेसन अफ फ्याक्टर्स है. कम्बिनेसन अफ फ्याक्टर्स के भयो यहाँनिर नेचुरल रिसोर्सेस, man-made items, human effort, money, etc. है. सो त्यही यो फ्याक्टर्सहरू कसरी कम्बाइन भएर चाहिँ त्यो फाइनल प्रडक्ट चाहिँ कसरी आउटकम अर द फाइनल प्रडक्ट चाहिँ कसरी भयो भन्ने जुन चाहिँ त्यो प्रोसेस छ नि त्यसलाई नै के भन्छ प्रोडक्सन. ओके, त्यसरी बुझ्दा पनि हुन्छ. द्याट्स अ भेरी लेम्यान वे अफ अन्डरस्ट्यान्डिङ म्यान, बट इट इज वाट इट इज. ओके, सो पालमपुर इज वेल कनेक्टेड विथ नेबरिङ विलेज एन्ड टाउन्स. Raiganj, a big village, is 3 kilometers from Palampur, as all weather roads connect the village to Raiganj and further on to the nearest small town to Shahpur. Many kinds of transports are visible on this road, starting from bullet cart, tongas, buggies, right, loaded with jaggery, to motor vehicles like motorcycles, jeep, tractors, etc. The village has about 450 family. अब यो डेमोग्राफी भन्छ है. सो डेमोग्राफी भनेको अब एउटा ठाउँमा मान्छेहरूको कतिजना फ्यामिलिजहरू छ है. सो डेमोग्राफिक ल्यान्डस्केप भन्यो भने अब कतिजना ठुलो छ, कतिजना सानो छ है, को स्कुल जान्छ, को फार्मिङपट्टि छ. सो अल अफ द्याट. ओके, एनिथिङ डेमोग्राफिक भन्ने बित्तिकै इट इज रिलेटिङ टु मान्छेहरू. ओके, सो यहाँनिर पनि यो भिलेजमा 450जना फ्यामिली छ बिलोङ्गिङ टु सेभरल डिफ्रेन्ट कास्ट्स. द 80 upper caste families own the majority of the land in the village. Of course, this is one characteristic that you see in a lot of villages in India. Okay, there's this statistic that showed that more than 80% of our farmers are small and marginalized. हुँ, भनेपछि चाहिँ जति पनि अब 80% भन्दा बेसी हाम्रो फार्मर्सहरू चाहिँ दे हेभ लेस देन 1 हेक्टर जमिन, ओके, अफ ल्यान्ड टु फार्म अन, ओके. सो अफकोर्स दिस यो चाहिँ कसरी भयो भन्दाखेरि युल हेभ टु गेट इन टु द हिस्ट्री अफ थिङ्स है. अब यो यसको हिस्ट्री हेर्नु पऱ्यो भने चाहिँ वी हेभ टु गो ब्याक टु द ब्रिटिसर्स ल्यान्ड रेभेन्यू पोलिसिज है. त्यहाँदेखि नै त्यो जेनेरेट हुँदै 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 आएको यस्तो एउटा त्यो के भन्छ एउटा त्यो ओरिएन्टेसन क्रिएट हुँदै हुँदै आएको, ओके. सो इफ वेन एभर यु रिड हिस्ट्री take you can connect it to that, right? So these houses, some of them quite large, are made of bricks, cement plastering. The SC Dalits comprise 1/3 of the population and live in one corner of the village, and much smaller houses and in much smaller houses, some of which are of mud and straw. Most of the houses have electrical powers, electricity powers all tubes in the fields and used in various types of small businesses. Palampur has two primary school and one high school. There is a public health center run by the government and one private dispensary where the sick are treated. The description above shows that Palampur has fairly well developed system of road, transport, electricity, irrigation, schools and health centers, right? सो बेसिकली के भन्दैछ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ यहाँनिर चाहिँ इन दिस पर्टिकुलर सेट अफ इन दिस टु प्याराग्राफ्स है वाट द बुक इज डुइङ इज वाट द च्याप्टर इज डुइङ इज इट इज पेन्टिङ अ पिक्चर अफ अ भिलेज है. अब भन्दैछ यो गाउँमा चाहिँ 450जना फ्यामिली छ अरे, 80जना चाहिँ अप्पर कास्ट फ्यामिली अरे, अरू चाहिँ सबै लोवर के पो कास्ट बिलो देम है, एससीहरू एक कुनामा बस्छ अरे है. अन्त so typically they're painting a picture of a typical Indian village, okay. So यहाँनिर अरू के पनि भन्दैछ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ yeah, we'll continue. The story of Palampur, an imaginary village, will take us through the different types of production activities in the village, okay. So in village across India, farming is the main production activity. Of course अघि मैले भनिहालेँ नि है. So it is farming is the main production activity, okay. So the other production activities referred to as non-farm activities include small manufacturing, transport, shopkeeping, etc., okay. We shall take a look at both these types of activities after learning a few general things about production. Now we'll get into the organization of production, okay. The aim of production is to produce the goods and services that we want, okay. There are 4 requirements for production of goods and services. Of course, see a bit of economics. के हो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ want र demand, okay. So there are two distinct entities in economics, okay, especially theory wise. You can loosely we use it interchangeably also, but in pure economics or core economics, if you get into the nitty-gritties of the theory, के भन्छ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ want चाहिँ के हो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ want is a situation in which you feel consumption of a commodity will give you utility. Utility or satisfaction, है. So want भनेको यो consumption of a commodity will give you utility or satisfaction. But यहाँनिर मेजर कुरा चाहिँ के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ you do not have the purchasing power here. Purchasing power छैन है तिम्रोमा. Power. No purchasing power. Okay, you do not have the purchasing power. Whereas demand मा चाहिँ you do have the purchasing power. Okay, want backed by purchasing power and the willingness to purchase the commodity becomes demand. Okay, of course you need not go into so much detail, but I'm just giving you something to I'm just giving you a portion a mind of economic theory, okay. सो त्यही भन्दैछ अब. And another thing, want is unlimited. Okay, unlimited. If you really think about all the things that you want, you might be wanting a big house, एउटा दामी गाडी, एउटा दामी बाइक, घडी, रोलेक्स है, designer shoes, designer whatever whatever, hey, those everything becomes a want. Why? Because if you think, be, inside your head, what is happening is you feel that owning or consuming those commodities will give you satisfaction, but you do not have the purchasing power to fulfill that want. Okay, that's why it is still a want. Is a conceptual thing, and demand चाहिँ के हो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ want when you have the purchasing power, but main important thing, there is a uh, willingness to spend. Yeah, right. So the aim of production is to produce the goods and services that we want. Hmm? There are four requirements for production of goods and services. The first requirement is land, and the other natural resources such as water, forest, minerals. Okay, free gifts of nature. Land भन्ने बित्तिकै अब it is an all encompassing, yeah, के भयो, it is an all encompassing category नै भनौँ न. Okay, so in economics what happens is land भन्ने बित्तिकै अब freshwater resources, water pani is going to be termed under land. Okay, so how you can understand this is any free gift of nature, नेचरबाट जे पनि हामी निकाल्दैछ नि है, त्यो हाम्रो के भयो, ल्यान्ड हुन्छ. The second requirement is labor. Obviously labor त अब man के भयो, human labor. Labor is something, people who will do the work. Yeah, some production activities require highly educated workers to perform the necessary tasks. Other activities require workers who can do manual work. Right? Each worker is providing the labor necessary for production. Okay, so labor भन्ने बित्तिकै अब you need sometimes के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि we often associate the word labor with someone who is physically working है. कोही बेला त्यो हाम्रो त्यो एउटा सर्ट साइटेडनेस हुन्छ है अन्डरस्ट्यान्डिङमा, बट हियर वेन यु स्ट्रिक्टली टकिङ अबाउट लेबर, नो, लाइक स्पेसली इन इकोनोमिक्स, लेबर अगेन इज भेरी इन्कम्पासिङ डेफिनेसन छ यो इकोनोमिक्समा. के हुन्छ लेबर भन्ने बित्तिकै अब यहाँनिर मान्छे पनि टिचर पनि लेबरै हो है, जसले पनि एउटा इकोनोमिक एक्टिभिटीमा आफ्नो पार्टिसिपेसन जनाउँदैछ नि ऊ लेबरै हुन्छ. Be it a construction worker, be it a teacher, principal, whoever it is, right? Doctor, everyone is counted as labor. Okay, so third requirement is physical capital. That is the variety of inputs required at every stage during production. What are the items that come under physical capital? Okay, so basically our physical capital again is very all encompassing. त्यसमा अब फिजिकल क्यापिटलमा के आउँदो रहेछ, अब टुल्स, मसिन्स, बिल्डिङ्स है, दिज बिकम यर फिक्स्ड क्यापिटल. फिक्स्ड क्यापिटल भनेको अब सपोज लेट्स से ओके, लेट्स से यु आर देवान डायरी है, द बेस्ट आई क्यान थिङ्क अबाउट इज देवान डायरीको पनि उनीहरूको फार्म होला है, फार्म भयो, लेट्स से दिस इज द फार्म है, जहाँ चाहिँ काउज आर देयर, अन्त योबाट चाहिँ लेट्स से दे हेभ अ फेसिलिटी, they have a facility, packaging facility, packaging facility. अब यो packaging facility मा the milk gets packaged into small pouches that we very well know of है. अब यो pouch चाहिँ produce हुँदैछ. अब यो packaging facility को जुन चाहिँ building भयो नि, यो चाहिँ fixed capital भनिन्छ. र working capital है, working capital could be जुन चाहिँ त्यो milk that is sourced from the farm, or it can also be the money that is required to run the facility in the first place, right? So production requires a variety of raw materials such as yarn used by the weavers and the clay used by potters. Also some money is always required during production to make payments, है. अब प्याकेजिङ फेसिलिटी आफै त हुँदैन है. अब त्यहाँनिर वर्कर्सहरू हुन्छ, त्यो वर्कर्सहरूलाई पनि अब लेट्स से दे आर डेली पेड डेली अरे, बिकज गाउँघरमा त्यही चलन हुन्छ है. उनीहरूलाई अब डेली पैसा दिनु पऱ्यो. अब त्यो डेली पैसा कसरी दिनु, आफ्नोमा छ भने त दिनु है. सो द्याट मनी, द्याट र मटेरियल, एभ्रिथिङ इज कमिङ अन्डर वर्किङ क्यापिटल. ओके, सो देयर इज अ फिक्स क्यापिटल. जुन चाहिँ यो बिल्डिङ भयो, बिल्डिङ इट सेल्फ इज द फिक्स क्यापिटल. एन्ड जुन चाहिँ रनिङ क्यापिटल हुन्छ, वर्किङ क्यापिटल हुन्छ. जस्तै अब र मटेरियल्सहरू भयो है, अब त्यो फेसिलिटी रन गर्नको लागि पैसा तिर्नुपर्छ कतिजना मान्छेहरूले है, द्याट बिकम्स यो वर्किङ क्यापिटल. ओके, सो देयर इज अ फोर्थ रिक्वायरमेन्ट टु. अब यहाँसम्म हामीले कतिवटा रिक्वायरमेन्ट देख्यो. यो चाहिँ प्रडक्सनको चाहिँ एउटा कुनै कुरा प्रड्युस गर्नुको लागि चाहिँ के चाहिन्छ भन्दा कुरा हुँदैछ यहाँनिर है. ल्यान्ड चाहिँदो रहेछ, लेबर चाहिँदो रहेछ, अन्त फिजिकल क्यापिटल. अब फोर्थ चाहिँ के चाहिन्छ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ नलेज एन्ड एन्टरप्राइज चाहिन्छ भन्दाखेरि. अब दिस इज भेरी इम्पोर्टेन्ट है. अब हाउ दिस एभ्रिथिङ टाइज टुगेदर भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ, अब आई गिभ यु स्मल इक्जाम्पल, सेम थिङ ल. सो लेट्स से देयर वाज दिस गाई, ओके, ऊ मान्छे थियो अरे देवान अरे नाम पनि है. I don't know anything about Dewan Dairy apart from that their milk is good. Okay, so I'm just giving this example so that all of us can associate with it. And for people who are outside of Darjeeling, I'm so sorry, you can take your local milk factory. Okay, so it is what it is. So Dewan Dairy, hey, मान्छे थियो अरे Dewan. Now he comes up with this. वाट हि सिज, लेट्स चाहिँ अब पहिला चाहिँ के गर्दै थियो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ गाउँघरमै यो दुध, अब एउटा फार्म थियो है, फार्म उसको इन्डिभिजुअल फार्म पनि थिएन क्या. गाउँघरमा अब सबैजनाको गाईहरू हुन्छ नि त होइन. अब त्यहाँनिर त्यो दुध चाहिँ बजारसम्म आउँथेन अरे. आउँथ्यो, एक दुईजनाले ल्याउँथ्यो, तर एउटा ठुलो एउटा नाम थिएन, ब्रान्ड थिएन है. सो वाट देवान सिज इज द अपर्च्युनिटी, right, the opportunity to create a brand or an enterprise, right, called Dewan Dairy. Right? So basically what he does is he collects all the milk from the farms of people, right? From सबैजना मान्छेहरूकोबाट उसले गाउँघरबाट कलेक्ट गर्छ. Then that milk is sent to his packaging facility. Okay, and that afterwards the packaged product is then brought to the customer. है, अब यहाँनिर ल्यान्ड पनि छ है. अब ल्यान्ड, यहाँनिर यु माइट बी थिङ्किङ ल्यान्ड कसरी छ है. ल्यान्ड एक त जे पनि कुरा बनाउँछ त्यो ल्यान्डमाथि बनाउँदा पनि हुन्छ. बट देन अब हाउ वुड द काउ सर्भाइभ, राइट? इट्स द ग्रास द्याट आर ग्रोन or cut from the land that is fed to the cows, and the cows are able to give milk, right? So त्यो एस्पेक्टमा ल्यान्ड छ है. लेबर अफ कोर्स अब फार्म्समै कतिजना मान्छे काम गर्दै रहेको हुन्छ है. अन्त यहाँनिर पनि प्याकेज फेसिलिटीमा पनि कतिजना मान्छे कामै गर्दै रहेको हुन्छ है. सो वी हेभ लेबर एज वेल. अन्त कतिजनाले यही कुरा चाहिँ यता उयसमा बजार लिकन कस्टमर्सहरूलाई पनि बेच्छ. सो वी हेभ ल्यान्ड, वी हेभ लेबर, एन्ड वी हेभ क्यापिटल अल्सो. बट अल अफ दिस वुड नट हेभ बिन possible if it was not for Mr. Devan to think about this in the first place. If he had not done his homework or researched about it, if he had not seen the opportunity that was in front of him, and if he had not capitalized on it, भन्नुको मतलब चाहिँ अब उसले इफ उसले यो कुराहरू नसोचेको भए है, उसले रिस्क नलिएको भए है, because enterprise, whenever you are talking about entrepreneurship, no, by the way, he's called an entrepreneur, right? So entrepreneurship, there is always a risk involved. You can either win it all or lose it all, right? This one, so he becomes a key point, okay, which uh, which mixes all of these factors, the above three factors, to make a produce, okay. And in this case, it's the yeah, okay, the milk. So again, capital. What was the third factor? The third factor was physical capital. Physical capital, the building, and the वर्किङ क्यापिटल चाहिँ एक त यो र मेटेरियल भयो, अन्त अर्को यो तिनजना मान्छेलाई दिनको पैसा दिनु है, द्याट बिकम्स ए वर्किङ क्यापिटल. So there is a fourth requirement too. You will need knowledge and enterprise to be able to put together land, labor, and physical capital and produce an outcome either to use yourself or to sell in the market. So this is the, I hope you understand this. Okay, so this is what it is. This these days is called wait okay, this these days is called human capital. Yeah. What is in human capital? Okay, we will learn more about human capital in the next chapter. So in this picture, identify the land, labor, and fixed capital used in labor. So you can obviously do this. So every production is organized by combining land, labor, physical capital, and human capital, which are known as the factors of production. है, अब जुनै पनि production process भयो, यो तिनटाको combination हुन्छ भन्दै चाहिँ land, labor, physical capital, है, physical capital and human capital. Okay, capital भन्छ है, physical capital, you can just remember capital, है, physical capital पनि आउँछ, human capital पनि आउँछ. अब अघि नै मैले बुझाइहालेको छु कसरी भन्दाखेरि, okay, land, see here again, we can go back to the same example. अब यो land त्यसै पनि त्यही हुन्थ्यो है, घाँस घाँस खाइ नै रहेको हुन्थ्यो है. दिस वुड नट हेभ ह्यापन्ड इन द फर्स्ट प्लेस एन्ड वी वुड नट हेभ नोन अ ब्रान्ड सच एस देवान डायरीको जुन त्यो प्याकेज प्रडक्ट. ओके, बट सिन्स all of this combined, there was a conspiracy to produce this Devan diary. It is a conspiracy, right? If you if you think about it, किन भन्दाखेरि अब यहाँनिर ल्यान्ड, लेबर भयो है, तिम्रो फिक्स क्यापिटल, वर्किङ क्यापिटल, ह्युमन क्यापिटल सबैको मिक्स कम्बिनेसन एन्ड कन्सपायर गरेर मात्रै यु हेभ दिस फाइनल प्रोडक्ट, द्याट इज यर डायरी. ओके, नाउ फार्मिङ इन पालमपुर. अब कतिवटा फ्याक्टर्स अफ प्रोडक्सनको, फ्याक्टर्स अफ प्रोडक्सन भने यही है, ल्यान्ड, लेबर, क्यापिटल, दिज आर द फ्याक्टर्स अफ प्रोडक्सन. नाउ we will understand through the story what are some of the characteristics of factors of production. Of course, first one is land is fixed. You cannot increase land at all. Okay, so farming is the main production in Palampur. 75% of the people who are working are dependent on farming for their livelihood. Yeah, they could be farmers or farm laborers, right? They could be farmers or farm laborers. The well-being of these people is closely related to the production of the farms. But remember that there is a basic constraint in raising farm production. Land area under cultivation is practically fixed. Yes. So 1960 in Palampur, there has been no expansion in land under cultivation. But then some of the wasteland in the village have been converted to cultivable land. There exists no further scope to increase farm production by bringing new land under cultivation. Okay, So of course, as this has been a growing issue, Nita, I know land is always going to be fixed, right? So what happens is this has been a growing issue all throughout India as such. Okay, अब के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ see our population is increasing. Okay, no doubt our population is increasing. Even in your village, if you see, आफ्नो आफ्नो गाउँ बस्तीमा हेऱ्यो भने पनि हाम्रो जनसङ्ख्या बढेकै छ. अब जनसङ्ख्या बढेपछि what is happening is the earlier those lands which were used for farming, that is also being anthropogenically converted into probably some houses, okay, for people to live. त्यो हुँदा चाहिँ के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि अब the village has to play a delicate balance between whether you should you should build more houses or you should have a bigger land under cultivation. Okay, because see, people the population is increasing but the land as such is not increasing, right? Especially land area under cultivation, either it is same or it has decreased. Okay, but it has definitely not increased. Okay, so by then right, अब यहाँनिर के पनि भन्दैछ भन्दाखेरि अब यो ल्यान्ड चाहिँ कतिवटा ठाउँहरूमा जे जति पनि बाहिरको त्यो उयोहरू थियो नि, वेस्ट ल्यान्डहरू भयो है, सम दोज ल्यान्ड, त्यो ल्यान्डहरू पनि लिएर चाहिँ त्यसलाई पनि अब ट्रान्सफर्म गरेर कसरी हुन्छ है, त्यसलाई पनि ट्रान्सफर्म गरेर चाहिँ there is an attempt made to make it cultivable, but apart from that it is not, the land under cultivation is still fixed, right? So the standard unit of measuring land is hectare. Again, I was talking to you again, no, right? More than 80% of small and marginal farmers have less than 1 hectare land. Okay, land is always land is always measured in hectare terms, unit a hectare. Though in villages you may find land area being discussed in local units such as biga, quinta, and all of that. Okay, you can read this. Number two, the second characteristics of land. Is there a way one can grow more from the same land? Of course there is, right? So in the kind of crop grown and facilities available, Palampur would resemble a village of the western part of state of Uttar Pradesh. All land is cultivated in Palampur. No land is left idle. During the rainy season, Kharif, farmers grow jar and bajra. These plants are used as cattle feed. Sorry, it is followed by cultivation of potato between October and December. In the winter season, fields are also sown with wheat. From the wheat produced, farmers keep enough wheat for the family's consumption and sell the surplus wheat to the at the market at Raiganj. A part of land area is also devoted to sugarcane, which is harvested once every year. Sugarcane in its raw form or as jaggery is sold to traders in Shapur. The main reason why farmers are able to grow three different crops in a year in Palampur is due to the well-developed system of irrigation. Electricity came early to Palampur. Its major impact was to transform the system of irrigation. Persian wheels were till then used by farmers to draw water from the wells and irrigate small fields. People saw that the electricity run tube wells could irrigate much large areas of land more effectively. The first few tube wells were installed by the government. Soon, however, farmers started setting up private tube wells. As a result, by mid the entire cultivated area of 200 hectares was irrigated. Okay, to grow more than one crop in a piece of land is known as multiple cropping. It is the most common way of increasing production on a given piece of land. Okay, so all farmers in Palampur grow at least two main crops. Many are growing potatoes as the third crop in the past 15 to 20 years. Okay, so basically what is the essential question that they are asking is अब जे जति पनि ल्यान्ड छ त्यहाँबाट हामी त्यसको उत्पादिकता त होइन, that's not the word. Okay, so what they're saying is can you grow more from the same land. Okay, त्यो चाहिँ के यो चाहिँ यो प्याराग्राफमा चाहिँ के भन्नु खोज्दैछ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ यु क्यान अभियसली ग्रो मोर फ्रम द सेम ल्यान्ड. हाउ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ अब इफ यु सी हाउ डु आई पुट दिस. ओके, इफ यु सी द agriculture seasons in India, it is starkly divided. Okay, के भन्दाखेरि अब there are kharif crop, kharif, rabi हुन्छ, then there are spring or in between, right? And then it again circles back to kharif. So farmers are के गर्छ, sometimes they plant a crop that is suitable for kharif. Okay, kharif mostly rainfall को time हो, June July rainfall. Rabi is late fall. Okay, and spring obviously is, oh yeah. So see, यसको I'm not very sure about the segregation. Okay, but rough segregation चाहिँ यस्तै हुन्छ. Okay, so यहाँनिर पनि भनेको छ त है, यही खरिफ during the rainy season. Kharif is rainy season, right? Winter season Rabi, October and December, है त्यो गर्छ. अन्त there is also spring season, springमा पनि गर्छ. So what they're doing is the farmers can obviously increase the production of the crops by having can increase the productivity of the land, not the production of the crops. Okay, productivity of the land by multiple cropping. Okay, again remember, here the question is not about fertility. Okay, here the question is about productivity. एउटै ल्यान्डबाट चाहिँ कति कति धेरै हामी निकाल्न सक्छ, बी इट राइस, बी इट विट, वाट एभर, है. तर हामी कति चाहिँ त्यो फार्म गर्न सक्छ एउटै ल्यान्डमा, त्यसको कुरा हुँदैछ यहाँनिर, है. अन्त खरिफ सिजन भयो, रबी सिजन भयो, अन्त स्प्रिङ सिजन पनि हुन्छ. अब यहाँनिर एउटा इम्पोर्टेन्ट कुरा गरेको छ, दे हेभ टक्ड अबाउट द मेन रिजन्स. अब यो कथामा चाहिँ के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ they are saying that the main reasons why farmers are able to grow 3 different crops in a year is Palampur is due to the well developed system of irrigation. Okay, this is very important. Okay, अब यहाँनिर एउटा सानो अफ ट्र्याक we can go, है. इन्डियामा नि close to 40%, 30 to 40%, I'm not pretty very hard on the fact, but then close to 30 to 40% I think is rain fed. भनेको चाहिँ अब यो 30 to 40% of agriculture is solely dependent on rainfall. Again, हाम्रो रेनफल कुन कुन हो, हाम्रो मेजर रेनफल हो साउथ वेस्ट मनसुन्स, है. अब त्यो मनसुन विन्ड्स, त्यो मनसुनल विन्ड्समा प्रब्लम भयो भने these crops are bound to fail. Okay, so that is a very dangerous situation to be in. And if you see the irrigation activities the गरेको छ government of India ले, but if you majorly see the trend of irrigation, the northwestern part has been heavily irrigated, okay? And that is why they could also participate at a much bigger scale in green revolution. Again, green revolution को टाइममा के भएको थियो, green revolution किन आयो, किन भन्दाखेरि we were not unable to feed our own people, है. So the government decided we will do a green revolution. जसमा चाहिँ we will bring in genetically modified seeds from Monsanto, and we will plant these we'll plant the rice which will have double or triple the productivity, right? अन्त त्यसो हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ today what we are you know Indian agriculture is often mocked as the rice wheat agriculture किन भन्दाखेरि the focus is also very heavy on rice and wheat. Now why the focus is very heavy on rice and wheat भन्दाखेरि because obviously once we were food scarce. There was every 15 to I think every 15 to 20 minutes there was a ship full of rice and wheat that was leaving the shores of US and coming towards India, right? That was a huge risk to our sovereignty. So to overcome that also, there was this beautiful revolution called the Green Revolution that happened. But for this Green Revolution to work, the rice required lots and lots of water, and this was only possible uh, in the northwestern region because the irrigation was अलिक भए पनि इन्ट्याक्ट थियो त्यहाँनिर होइन? त्यही कारण त्यो एरियाजहरूमा नर्थ वेस्ट रिजनमा we see a whole lot of development also because they could benefit a lot from this green revolution. And uh, yeah, the point here is that irrigation often leads to higher and higher leads to higher productivity. Okay, right. So let's discuss. The following table shows that the land under cultivation in India in units of million hectares. Right. So 26. Look at this land under cultivation, cultivated area. It is increasing. Right? But then if you see the average यहाँदेखि, if you see from here, there is not much of increase. यहाँदेखि यहाँसम्म increase भएको छ है, because we are talking from 1950s to 1990 91. But if you see the past 10 years, even now I think the data has not changed much. It is still hovering around 200 million hectares. Okay. Right. So is it important to increase the area under irrigation? Why? Of course, it is important to increase the area under irrigation. Why? भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ I'll give you a simple. I'll give you a food for thought. Okay. See, if our agriculture is rain fed, if our agriculture is rain fed, है, अब पानीको भरोसामा आकाशको पानीको भरोसामा हामी बस्यो अरे, if our agriculture is rain fed, then what happens is it poses a huge risk. Okay? Now, when our agriculture becomes rain fed, it's a huge risk. So, whenever there is a failure of monsoon, right, it happens. Okay, monsoons they have a tendency to fail because of all those geographical factors. Okay, maybe the ICTZ was not strong enough, right? Or maybe we had El Nino, and because of all those geographical factors, our monsoon was unable to bring the amount of rain that it was required to bring. Okay, so के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि our agriculture fails. And when agriculture fails, it is another huge risk. के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि, of course, the risk is food security to the direct security. अन्त अर्को चाहिँ हो हाम्रो inflation. We'll have a surging inflation. Just remember, no, like whenever टमाटर अस्ति नै टमाटरको युजली टमाटरको केस हुन्छ है, जहाँ चाहिँ अब द क्रप टमाटरको क्रप फेल हुन्छ, or probably there is some reason with this tomato. What happens is you end up paying more to get a kilogram of tomato, which you would have either got it at a much lower price had it not failed. Yeah, so that is inflation. Okay? And there are other different fallouts also, but right now it is this. Right? Another fallout is then one level higher फलआउट चाहिँ के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि अब जब एग्रिकल्चर फेल भयो है, एग्रिकल्चर फेल भएर पछि पिपल हु आर इम्प्लोइड इन एग्रिकल्चर म 40%, 40 to 45% is still employed in agriculture, by the way, and this number I'm being very modest. 40 to 45 is still employed in agriculture only. So what happens to this huge chunk of people? They do not have the purchasing power. Purchasing power. अब यता एग्रिकल्चर फेल भएको, so fallout is a direct increase in prices, and here there are 40 to 45% of people whose purchasing power will decrease. So this becomes a serious issue for the government, and that is why we have huge buffer stocks. Okay. Food security पनि read about India's food security. It's a beautiful case study, and it's beautiful. Okay, but right now we'll focus on what it is, right? So you have read about the crops grown in Palampur. Fill the following table. Okay, you do that. Okay. So you have seen that one way of increasing production from the same land is by multiple cropping. Yeah. The other way to use modern farming methods, yes, modern farming methods electricity. यहाँनिर बोरवेल भन्दा पनि इलेक्ट्रिसिटी आएर जुन चाहिँ यिनीहरूले के गर्न थाल्यो, यो ट्युबवेलबाट पानी अझै छिटो रेटमा निकाल्न सक्यो है, which the farmers benefited. Right? And the other way is to use modern farming methods for higher yield. Yield is measured as crop production on a given piece of land during a single session. Till the mid 1960s, the seed used in cultivation were traditional ones with relatively low yield. Traditional seeds need less irrigation. Farmers use cow dung and other natural manure for fertilizers. Right? Oh, see, told you, no? The Green Revolution. The Green Revolution in the late 90s introduced the Indian farmers to cultivation of wheat and rice using high-yielding variety seeds. Compared to the traditional seed, the HYV seed promised to produce much greater amount of grain on a single plant. As a result, the same piece of land would now grow far larger quantities of food grains that was possible earlier. HYV seeds, however, needed plenty of water and also chemical fertilizers and pesticides to produce best results. Okay, I wouldn't dive much into this. What I suggest you to do is read about HYV seeds. Okay, and you can also read into the seed strategy of Monsanto. Seed strategy of Monsanto को बारेमा पनि पढ्दा हुन्छ. It is अलिकति concerning खालको कुरै हो. Okay, so you can do that. Right, so अब यहाँनिर के भन्दैछ हामीले, ल्यान्ड त सल्लो ठिकै छ, ल्यान्डमा हामीले खेती गर्न सक्छौँ, तर अब त्यो खेतीको प्रोडक्सन कसरी बढाउने भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ we saw one way was multiple cropping. Okay, खरिफ सिजनमा पनि क्रप गर्नुपर्ने, रबीमा पनि क्रप गर्नुपर्ने, अनि स्प्रिङमा पनि क्रप गर्नुपर्ने. Okay, and apart from that, what we also saw was what we should do is we can modernize our farming techniques by the use of electricity. No more त्यो गाईले के भयो गोरुले हलो जोत्दै गरेको. Okay, we can use modern technology. But see, this suggestion is alikati alluring, very, because whenever we talk about Indian agriculture as such, no, our suggestion should be such that we have to हामीले के गर्नुपर्छ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ Indian agriculture is different from US agriculture. Okay, because see, whenever we are talking about Indian agriculture as a whole, no, what we do is we simply look at US and say, okay, we need machines, we need machineries, right? we need big machineries, we need plants, we need fine, we need storage facilities. Yeah, that is true. We need cold storages पनि चाहिन्छ हामीलाई, storage facilitiesहरू पनि चाहिन्छ. But are you sure that we need big machines? क्या अब huge tractors है, त्यो all sorts of machineries that US has है. Sometimes what we do is we just extrapolate all of that into our economy, but our economy is slightly different पनि होइन. It's huge. There is a huge difference in the sense that 80% of our small and marginal farmer have less than 1 hectare land. Okay, 1 hectare land is roughly 100 meters into 100 meters. त्यत्रो मात्रै हुन्छ है, रफली भनेको अब अन्दाजी. सो त्यत्रोमा आधी जस्तो त अब उसले आफै राख्नु पऱ्यो, फार्मरले आफै राख्नु पऱ्यो. सब्सिडेन्स पनि हुन्छ नि त है. He cannot sell everything, है. And on top of that, he's going to have loans and all of that. So whenever we're talking about modernizing our farming, we'll have to be very careful in terms of which way are we modernizing. Okay, we can obviously talk about nano urea. We can talk about Indian produced HYV seeds. Okay, not from any foreign country. Okay? Just a BT brinjal ka case थियो. I think it was 22 or 23. They had given it for field testing. I could not follow up what happened, but those kinds of things that was produced by ICRA down in Delhi. So so that's the thing that I was saying, that when our agriculture is unique, and the suggestions we give to increase the production of our agriculture production needs to be tailor made for for the Indian agriculture as such. Okay, you can't just say that modernize agriculture with big machines and all of that. Doesn't work, because more than 80% of our farmers are small and marginal farmers. Okay, so yeah, but of course you need to modernize some aspects of it, and we also need high yielding variety seeds that are indigenously researched into. Okay, so yeah, now number 3 is, will the land sustain? Land being a natural resource, it is necessary to be careful in its use. Scientific reports indicate that modern farming methods have overused the natural resource base. In many areas, green revolution is associated with the loss of soil fertility due to increased use of chemical fertilizers. Also, continuous use of groundwater for tube well irrigation has led to depletion of water table. Environmental resources like soil fertility and groundwater are built up over years. Once destroyed, it is very difficult to restore them. You must take care of the environment to ensure further development of agriculture, right? So basically what they are saying is, see, good and bad is two sides of a coin, two sides of every coin. Okay, good, we achieved our food security through green revolution, but ग्रिन रेभोल्युसनले के पनि गर्यो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ हाम्रो सोइल फर्टिलिटीले पनि पुरा इफेक्ट गर्यो है. अब हामीले भन्दैछ नि होइन, माथि भर्खर हामीले के भन्यो, प्रडक्सन इन्क्रिज गर्नु, क्रपको प्रडक्सन इन्क्रिज गर्नुको लागि चाहिँ हामीले के गर्नुपर्छ भने हामीले मल्टिपल क्रपिङ गर्नुपर्छ अरे है. खरिफ सिजनमा पनि हाल्नु पऱ्यो, रबी सिजनमा पनि हाल्नु, स्प्रिङ सिजनमा पनि हाल्नु पऱ्यो. बट what that will do is that will pressurize the land in itself, and that will also deplete the water. Okay, because for such type of farming, you cannot just be dependent on the rain. Okay, you need other irrigation facilities also, and the biggest irrigation facility is groundwater. So what people are doing, they are using electric pumps to pump out all the water. Now when you're pumping out, okay, so when you're pumping out more and more water, what is happening is the water table itself is depleting faster than it is being recharged. Okay, and that is producing a huge lot of whole lot of issues. Okay, अब के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि अब लेट्स दिस इज द ल्यान्ड है, दिस इज द ल्यान्ड अरे, अब यहाँनिर एउटा कसैको इलेक्ट्रिक पम्प छ अरे है, अन्त यो चाहिँ वाटर टेबल अरे. So when he uses this pump for a very long time, what happens is this water table starts to decrease even faster than it gets recharged. Okay? Now that is one thing, faster rate of depletion of groundwater. The other one is what happens is यहाँनिर अब soil contains soil particles, salt particles, sorry, salt particles हुन्छ है, salinity बढेर जान्छ. Okay, so this because of capillary action, what happens is the farmland starts to become very saline. Okay, basically it loses its fertility. त्यो भन्न खोजेको चाहिँ there is a loss of soil fertility and groundwater are built up. Yeah, once destroyed it is very difficult to restore them. Restoration को लागि time पनि लाग्छ. Okay, what happened? Right, so 4 यहाँनिर के भनेको छ, chemical fertilizer. Let's read this. Chemical fertilizers provide minerals which dissolve in water and are immediately available to plants, but these may not be retained in the soil for long. They may escape from the soil and pollute groundwater. See, chemical fertilizers can also kill bacteria and other microorganisms in the soil. This means sometime after use, the soil will be less fertile. The consumption of chemical fertilizers in Punjab is highest in the country. The continuous use of chemical fertilizer led to degradation of soil health. Of course, Punjab farmers are now forced to use more and more chemical fertilizers. Right? So it's like a vicious cycle, no? Like, के हुँदैछ भन्दाखेरि, so we had Green Revolution. Green Revolution मा के हो, there was use of chemical fertilizers. What it did, it degraded the natural fertility of soil. So now for the soil to produce any crop, you are required to put more chemical fertilizers, but that is again going to degrade your natural fertility of soil. Now to make sure that your crop grows, you are again have to put more fertilizers. Okay, so त्यहाँनिर चाहिँ के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि एउटा vicious circle create हुन्छ क्या. That is something I thought I would want to share of regarding chemical fertilizers. Right? So how is land distributed between farmers of Palampur? So you must have realized how important land is for farming. Unfortunately, not all the people engaged in agriculture have sufficient land to see. In Palampur, about 1/3 of the 450 families are landless. That is 150 families. Most of them, Dalits, have no land for cultivation. Right? Of the remaining families who own land, 240 families cultivate small plots and land less than 2 hectares in size. Cultivation of such plots doesn't bring adequate income of the farmer's family. So look at this now. Think for yourself, right? Like there is a farmer. So majority of the farmers are operating, let's say, 1 to 2 hectares. Okay. Our family. So this is the farmer's house. Okay. This is the farmer's house, and this is the farm. Now let's say he is one person. He's got his wife and 2 kids. Now what happens is, let's say he needs this much for subsistence. भनेको आफ्नो खानुको लागि. भनेपछि त he can sell the produce of only this portion, right? Now again, what did we see? We saw that the farm itself has the land itself has lost its fertility, lost fertility. Now to increase this fertility, he needs chemical fertilizers. Okay, he needs chemical fertilizers, and he also needs seed to farm. Okay, so this he needs before before the crop, right? So what happens is he takes a loan for this, and यो जुन जति पनि बेच्छ नि होइन, sometimes will not even be able to, he will not be able to even cover this loan. Yeah, read about Vidarbha farmer suicide. It's a very tragic case. Read about it. You will know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so but yeah, so this is one issue that happens in Indian farming. Okay, now just imagine, let's say this land, right? Let's say this land, he's an old chap now, 20 years down the line, he's an old chap. Okay? Now these two fellows, now let's say these two fellows, they've grown. These two fellows, they've grown now. Mm-hmm. So हाम्रो grandfather father farmer र mother farmer, eh? Then his son, first son, his second son. Now what happens is he is also going to get married. He's also going to get married, and they will start asking for their share of the land. Share of the land माग्न थाल्छ. अब यही ल्यान्ड भयो, यसलाई यो बाटिन्छ है. अब यो बाटेपछि के हुन्छ, अब यति जस्तो सबसिस्टेन्समा बस्छ, यति चाहिँ बेच्छ. ओके, यो सबसिस्टेन्स यति बेच्छ, आफ्नो आफ्नो घर हुन्छ. Then again they might even have 2 kids, which will get further, now this will further get divided. Okay, so this is a peculiar case in Indian agriculture, which the economists have properly termed it as disguised unemployment. Disguised unemployment. Okay, see, your plot of land, even one person could have cultivated it. Okay, it need not have at least 3 families or 6 people working on it, but then they are working on it. So essentially only one person is employed, all 3 are, the other people are just, they are unemployed, but they don't know it yet. Okay, right? So again, on the remaining families who own land, right? So you read this portion, you can see that the large number of small plots scattered around the village in the picture. Yep. Okay, so ये भन्नु खोजेको, number of farmers, see, small and medium, large farmers. मैले भन्दै थिएँ नि, more than 80% are small and medium farmers, not okay, less than 2 hectares. Who will provide the labor? After land, Labor is the next necessary factor of production. Right? Farming requires a great deal of hard work. Small farmers, along with their families, cultivate their own land. Thus, they provide the labor required for farming themselves. Right? अब गाउँघरमा हुन्छ नि, अब जस्तै एकजनाको घरमा धान रोप्यो भने सबैजना गाउँको सबैजना आएर त्यहाँनिर सघाउँछ है। भोलिको दिनमा अर्को घरमा धान रोप्न गयो भने सबैजना जानुपर्छ है। सो बेसिकली लेबर चाहिँ को हुन्छ, इट इज फ्रम द विलेज इटसेल्फ है। So farm laborers can come either from landless families or families cultivating small plots of land. Unlike farmers, farm laborers do not have the right over the crops grown on land. Instead, they are paid wages by the farmers for whom they work. Wages can be in cash or in kind. Okay, sometimes laborers get meal also. Wages vary widely from region to region, from crop to crop, from one farm activity to another. I hope you understand. Right? So basically, what they are saying is yes, it can come from within the village itself, but it can also come from those families which do not have the land. अब जमिनै छैन, जसकोमा जमिनै छैन, के गर्छ भन्दाखेरि अर्काको जमिनमा गएर काम गर्छ, and he is paid whatever he is paid. Okay, it daily wagesमा काम गर्न थाल्छ. A farm laborer might be employed on a daily basis or for one particular. Yeah. So Dala is a landless farm laborer. Okay, so basically it's a small story which talks about how much this person gets. Right. So next is the capital. The capital needed in farming. You've already seen that the modern farming method require a great deal of capital, so the farmers now need more money than before. Yeah. So most small farmers have to borrow money to arrange for capital. Yes, they borrow from large farmers or various village money lenders, or for the or the traders who supply various inputs for cultivation. The rate of interest on such loan is very high. Right? They are put in great distress to repay the loan. Okay. See, I'll give you a small link. Okay. So basically, when you see Britishers' land revenue policy, especially the zamindari area भयो, permanent settlement areas भयो, zamindari भयो, and this was रियतवारी. Okay, रियतवारी. अब ब्रिटिसर्सहरूको के थियो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ they were like, do whatever you want to do, but I need some percentage of whatever is produced. Right? If you are unable to turn up that much percentage, let's say 1/3 array, right? 1/3 or 2/3. If you are unable to turn in 2/3, then you lose the right over the land. So what used to happen was these Riyatwari region ma, especially Riyat भनेको त्यो ल्यान्डको पट्टेदार भनौँ न, अब जसकोमा त्यो ल्यान्डको पट्टा छ है, त्यो मान्छे. So in order to retain his land, what he used to do, he used to go to the money lender. Okay. Money lender कोमा जान्थ्यो. Money lenderले लोन दिन्थ्यो. And the loan would have some obnoxious interest rates. Okay. Sometimes it would be compound interest rates rather than simple interest rates. Right? त्यो प्रकारको हुन्थ्यो. And a time would come when Riyat would be unable to pay this loan and even unable to pay that company to by 3%. So what he would do is he would either lose the land to the company or he would lose it to the money lender. Okay. And आजकल अहिले पनि same thing happens. Okay? The same चालचलन is happening even today also, where most farmers, what they do, they go to money lenders. Money lenders. And why do they go to money lenders? Because the need here is Need here is of capital. Hmm? Capital could be again anything. Could be from chemical fertilizers, and could be seeds, high quality seeds. Okay, your ones. The need is capital. So paisa छैन farmer he takes loan. Right? He takes loan and he fulfills this need. However, sometimes what these money lenders do is, obviously our farmers is a farmer. He is a very simple person. He would not have had much अकाउन्टै हुँदैन क्या उसले. सो मनी लेन्डरले लुजली पैसा दिन्छ है. उसकोमा त्यस्तो उयो पनि हुँदैन, त्यो के पो त्यो राख्ने चालचलन पनि हुँदैन. सो मनी लेन्डर वुड लुजली hand money to the farmers. But this guy is a very shrewd person. Okay. So, okay, shit. Sorry. Where were we? Yeah, right. So again, I'll put it. So farmers are okay. The need is capital. Hmm? Capital chemical fertilizers and seed. This goes to money lender. Money lender. Okay. And money lender gives loan. And so the loans have very high percentages. Very high percentage. Okay. That's okay, wait. Loan. Right? Now the issue with this loan is it has very high percentage. Very high percentage. And the money lender is often very shrewd in terms of the repayments. Okay, अब कोही बेला हामीले पैसा तिरेको पनि हुन्छ, but then the money lender will keep on, like adding interest. Sometimes the interest itself becomes much higher, larger than the principal. है त्यो हुन्छ इस्यु. अब यहाँनिर चाहिँ अब money lender needs his money, right? So here sometimes in repayment, in failure to repay, farmers lose land. Okay. And sometimes there are even cases where all family members unalive themselves. Okay. Pandita, you read about Vidarbha region, right? Vidarbha farmer suicide and the general condition of farmers in India. You will it's very dangerous. That is why see, this is informal lending mechanism. That is why today what government of India is desperately trying to do is bring this credit, farmer credit, into formal system. Okay, through kisan credit card. किसान क्रेडिट कार्डको किन त्यस्तो डरलाग्दो चर्चा परिचर्चा हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ यो लाइन अफ एक्सन चाहिँ नहोस् न भन्ने खालको कुरा नि गभर्मेन्टको चाहिँ है. त्यो पनि हो. But again, see, the farmers already are put in such a precarious situation from the era of Britishers, by their deliberate policies, that farmers have no choice but to farm, and they have no choice but to sometimes do it in loss, and sometimes they lose their lives. Okay. Right. The capital needed in farming. Okay. Yes. So most small farmers have to borrow money to arrange for capital. They borrow more for, yeah, get justice to repay the loan. Savita, you read about this, okay? Savita. The medium and large farmers have their own savings for farming. They are thus able to arrange. Again, farming in India is for subsistence farming पनि हुन्छ है. अब फार्मरले त्यो डल्लै जग्गामा रोपेको प्रड्युस सबै बेच्दैन, आफ्नो घर फ्यामिलीको लागि पनि कतिवटा राख्छ. सम अमाउन्ट इज केप्ट. ओके, सेल अफ सर्फस फार्म प्रड्युस पनि त्यही. So let us suppose that the farmers have produced wheat on their land. So small farmers like Savitan Govinsan have little surplus wheat because, again, that is what I was telling you, right? Because their total production is small, and from this, a substantial share is kept for their own family needs. So it is the medium and the large farmers who supply wheat to the market. Yep. Okay. So the smaller the you are, the more marginalized you are going to be. Okay. So whenever you're talking about a village economy, then about farming मात्रै हुँदैन. There are other activities also that goes alongside farming. Okay. The first activity, of course, again, I told you, again, it is dairy activities. Okay. You can if you want to look at how dairy evolved in the in sorry not Darjeeling, in India, you can always look into the case study of Amul, Varghese Kurian. Okay. Now, an example of small scale manufacturing in Palampur. Okay, at present, less than 50 people are engaged in manufacturing in Palampur. Unlike the manufacturing that takes place in big factories in towns and cities, manufacturing in Palampur involves very small production methods and are done on a small scale. These are carried out mostly at home or in the fields with the help of family labor. Rarely are laborers hired. Okay, about one case study could be biggest one of the biggest case study could be Lijjat Papad. Lijjat Papad. Lijjat Papad. And now to extrapolate this idea of Lijjat Papad, Lijjat Papad मा चाहिँ के गर्यो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ there was this person called Ella Bhatt. Okay, so she started this Lijjat Papad. Lijjat Papad चाहिँ के हो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ एउटा कतिवटा घरहरू भयो. लेट्स से दिस इज one household. यहाँ यो लेट्स से 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 7 हाउसहोल्डको जति पनि फिमेल मेम्बर्सहरू छ है, दे वुड कन्ट्रिब्युट सर्टन नम्बर अफ पापड. आफ्नै बनाउँथ्यो, आफै सुकाउँथ्यो है. दे had some mechanism of quality control and they would make this and all of them would unanimously sell under this brand of Lijjat Papad. Now Lijjat Papad, that is an example of small scale manufacturing. However, यहाँ स्मल स्केल म्यानुफ्याक्चरिङ चाहिँ किन भनेको भन्दाखेरि बिकज यो घरभित्रैकै मान्छेले ट्रेडिसनल टेक्निक्सहरूसँग बनाउँछ. जस्तै अब पापड हातले बेल्दैछ, they don't have huge machineries to automate the entire process of it. Then kneading the dough by their own hands, आफै गुन्दैछ, आफै बेल्दैछ, आफै सुकाउँदैछ है. So that is called a small scale manufacturing. Okay, look into this Lijjat Papad. This went on to become one of the cooperative financing biggest example, Lijjat Papad. Okay. Third, the shopkeepers of Palampur. People involved in trade are not many in Palampur. The traders of Palampur are shopkeepers who buy various goods from wholesale market in the cities and sell them in the village. You will see small general stores in village selling wide range of items like rice, wheat, sugar, tea, oil. A few of the families whose houses are close to the bus stands have used a part of the space to open small shops, eatables. Right here, right. So you can read this. So basically, oh my god. Okay. So this is what happens when you scribble too much. suddenly crashes. Right. So basically, what they are saying, this entire chapter is about painting a picture, okay, about life in Palampur. Transport, a fast and developing sector. What the hell? Yeah. Right. And lastly, what you have is transport. Transport is transport and variety of there are variety of vehicles on the road connecting Palampur to Raiganj, rickshawala, tongawala, jeep. Okay, truck drivers and people driving the traditional bullock carts and bogies are people in the transport services. They ferry people and goods from one place to another and in return get paid for it. Okay, the number of people involved in transport has grown over last several years. Okay, so basically, one thing that I would like you also to ponder upon is the multiplier effect that happens in an economy. Okay, economics ma what we say is the multiplier effect. A multiplier effect बनेको के हो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ how fast, okay, not how fast, multiplier effect is more about the change of hands of money. है let's say हाम्रोमा हेरौँ न, हाम्रै इकोनोमीमा हेरौँ न, दार्जिलिङमा है हाम्रो दाजुभाइ दाजुभाइ दिदीबहिनी दे गो टु इजरायल अरे इजरायल or Dubai, they send money, पैसा पठाउँछ हामीलाई रेमिटेन्सेस, अन्त द्याट हाम्रो आमा बाउले पाउँछ त्यो पैसा, द्याट इज स्पेन्ड टु शपकिपर्स हियर, शपकिपर्सहरू भयो है, अन्त कुड बी शपकिपर्स भयो है, रासिनमा जान्छ, अन्त मेसन्सहरू भयो, यु वान्ट टु रेनोभेट यर हाउसेस है. सो हाम्रो because of them sending the money, what happened, her purchasing power increased. Okay, now she is spending some money on buying something from the shopkeepers or probably the mason, right? Now यिनीहरूको पनि पर्चेसिङ पावर बढ्छ, किन भन्दाखेरि पैसा आयो नि त यिनीहरूकोमा पनि क्या. So further it trickles down. That is called a multiplier effect in an economy, है. अब velocity चाहिँ how quickly this happens. Okay, so you need not get much into it, but I just thought I would just tell you all this. So yeah, basically के गरेको छ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ this first chapter talks about production. Okay, and at the same time what it has also done beautifully is it has given you a taste of what Indian village basically is. Okay, it is subtly give you characteristics of Indian society, class caste division भयो है, features of agriculture in India पनि Indian agriculture पनि भनेको छ. There are a huge small and marginal farmers, and the irrigation facility पनि हाम्रो कम्ती, the land under irrigation is very less. Okay, there is a huge there is huge dependency on rainfall. Okay, so yeah, if you just go through this once more, read it on your own, and if there is anything, we will you can leave a comment. Okay, and I'll get back to you. Until tomorrow, until next video, goodbye.